Well, hello, class, and welcome to Chapter 4, which is all about job analysis. And this is kind of the part of the semester where we really start getting into some of the meat of what compensation is and how we relate to it in the real world, so to speak. Chapter 4 is really kind of a great baseline for what we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the semester. You saw probably three terms that got used repeatedly throughout the chapter: job analysis, job description, and job specification. So, want to make sure we clear out the terminology related to all three of those. Job analysis, which is what the whole idea of the chapter is about, talks about the differences and similarities between jobs. So what's different about two jobs? What do they have in common? So the whole idea of figuring out what jobs are and what they're not is the overall idea behind job analysis. Whereas, we've probably all, held jobs where we had a job description, and a job description, it's the observable stuff, it is the tasks, the duties, and the responsibilities, about the actual details of what you're going to be doing within the job itself. That's what we call a job description. And again, observable, tangible things usually. Whereas in a job specification, those tend to be more, I would call, non-observable. Those are what the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities that a person needs to do the job. So, the college degree level that you need, your ability to do something, to perform a task, if you will. So think of the job description as observable, and job specification as more the stuff that we have internally that we know that helps us do a job. So want to make sure we keep all three of those terms, unique and separate, because again, we'll be working with them throughout the semester. So, and going back to job analysis itself, we collect information about specific jobs, tasks, or behaviors. The whole idea of analysis is we have to collect the data first, and then we can make decisions. So, like for example, if we take a group, if we have a bunch of tasks to do a job, if we take a big group of those tasks and put them together, that's what we call a position. So a job position is basically just an assemblage of tasks that are put together. If we have, identical positions, that could make up a job itself. And then, a bunch of similar jobs make up a job family. So, a group of tasks is a position. Identical positions make up a job, and similar jobs make up a job family. So, again, I know it can be kind of layered and kind of detailed, but again, the whole idea, if we learn this terminology in this chapter, it will follow us for the rest of the semester. So if you look at Exhibit 4.6 in your textbook, it talks about typical data collected for job analysis. This is a great chart on the types of stuff that we collect when we're looking at data. There's one that's listed for job data and one for employee data. So kind of look through Exhibit 4.6, because it does a really good job of explaining what goes into when professional compensation analysts look at job analysis. This is the task that they go through, is Exhibit 4.6. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, as I mentioned earlier, in the semester, I'm a lawyer by trade, even though I have a lot of compensation background and experience working in it. Currently I'm a lawyer by trade. So your book does a good job of mentioning the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was a law that was created in 1990, designed to protect individuals nationwide from discrimination and job harassment who have disabilities, whether those disabilities are temporary or permanent. So, and why this is so relevant, as a lawyer and as a practicing compensation professional, is that the ADA requires essential elements of a job to be specified. So, and really what all that means is that certain tasks of the job are absolutely essential. So if you're going to be, an auto mechanic, you probably have to be able to change the oil, or be able to open the hood of a car to be able to get into it. Those are things that you absolutely have to be able to do to be an auto mechanic. So the ADA goes into great detail about essential elements, things that have to be performed, must be specified in the job description as part of job analysis. So we're going to get to the ADA much more in detail later in the semester, but I did want to kind of mention it now because, again, I think it's really relevant to this whole idea behind job analysis. So when we're doing job analysis, how do we collect this information? Well, obviously we need this information. We got to get it from somewhere. Kind of the old school mentality, if you will, is to simply send out questionnaires. Ask people what they do, how do they do it. What tools do they need? What education helped them? So that's kind of and to a lesser extent, that's still somewhat used today. Is sending out emails and asking for job information. And we use those to create job descriptions, as we talked about a little bit ago. A lot, especially if you own a small business or even companies that are creating new positions, where can they get these job descriptions? Well, if you Google job descriptions, if you Googled auto mechanic job description, you're going to get a pretty detailed list of, because there's so much information out there. But one specific thing I want to mention is ONET. It's the Occupational Information Network, and this is something. So this will be a test question, just as FYI. But ONET is a wonderful, wonderful example of how you can, and it's a free resource that you can use to get general job descriptions. If you look at Exhibit 4.11, ONET is definitely a great way to gather information like this. And as part of our group class project, our semester-long project, we will be utilizing ONET, here in about a month or two. So just remember ONET specifically. So. Well, the last thing that I want to kind of mention under job analysis is about judging job analysis, and you've probably either from your statistics class or from some other class have heard the ideas behind reliability and validity, and again, reliable and valid are going to be terms that we use throughout the semester. Obviously, reliability is a measure of consistency. If we keep getting the same results, time after time, that's going to be very reliable. But validity measures accuracy. So something can be very reliable, but not very valid, for example. So they run together, but they're not mutually exclusive, or they are mutually exclusive, I should say. So remember, reliability measures consistency and validity measures accuracy. So again, those are the main points that I want you to know for this chapter. Really, really important aspect of job analysis is really figuring out what's similar and what's different from jobs. And again, we will return to this time and time again throughout the semester. So thanks again for listening, everyone, and I will see you later for Chapter 5.